I miss the sun. Hi YouTube, it's Kathy, Happy Bookmas. This is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for December 10th through 16th. This week I read 5 books, I watched 2 shows, I listened to 2 podcasts, and I listened to 1 book. First this week I finished There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. This seemed like the perfect book to bring with me when I knew I'd be sleeping in a room with complete strangers all weekend at PodCon. This is a gory horror book that takes place in a small town. Out of nowhere, students are being killed off, and the protagonist thinks it might have something to do with her secret past. There's sex, love, death, mayhem, and lots of blood. So considering my first email address included the words horror flick chick, this was right up my alley. One criticism I've heard and agree with is that you learn who the killer is way too early in the book. But I really enjoyed that the point of view changed to characters that could possibly be the next victim. Next, I finished Library Mascot Cage Match by Bill Barnes and Gene Abum. One of my coworkers has a routine of putting up a few of these strips in the elevator at one of the branches I work at, and they always crack me up, so I decided it was time to read an entire book of them. This comic takes place in a public library following clerks of various work ethics, fallible patrons, and a page who is somehow also the mascot, which makes me really happy that I've never had to wear a character costume while putting books away. If you have ever spent more than 5 minutes in a library, this comic is relatable. Next this week I finished Holidays on Ice by David Sedaris. This starts off the books that I'm reading for the Holiday Adventure-a-thon, which is one of 3 readathons I am doing in 2 weeks. This collection of short stories, some fiction, some autobiographical, center around Christmas. It was published 20 years ago and I got about halfway through the first story before falling into language that is so problematic and just not acceptable today. The humor in this collection is decent, but all too often relied on sexism, racism, classism, homophobia, and ableism to make a marginalized group the butt of the joke. I did enjoy learning what it was like to be one of Santa's elves, and one family Christmas card letter surprised me in the path that it took, but it was not without its problems. Apparently there's a revived edition, I have no idea if it's any better, and I would straight up pass on this. My first read for the Sapicathon was Knit 1, Girl 2 by Shira Glassman. This is a short novella about a couple of geeky, artistic Jewish women who are collaborating on a project and going on dates. And the only complaint I have is that I wanted this to be a full-length novel. It was only 68 pages and I would have loved if it had been fleshed out to include another 200 pages. That's probably because I loved all of the characters so much that I just wanted more. The final physical book I read this week was Girl Reading by Katie Ward. I went into this without knowing anything else about it, and I'm so glad I did, so I'm going to keep this brief. One thing that took a bit of getting used to was the author didn't use quotation marks to indicate dialogue, so sometimes it was unclear if someone was talking, and if so, who. Despite this, I highly recommend picking up this book. It is worth working through that initial confusion. This book is broken up into 7 different sections, and I really love that the last section tied it all together. If you like books about books or reading, which I clearly do, this is something I think you should read. This week, our Tuesday Night Dinner Club watched Riverdale, Season 2, Episodes 3 through 6. I enjoy that this show is playing with social media and how naive Archie can be. Most of the parents continue to be terrible. I have a love-hate relationship with Cheryl. She can be a human, and then she can be not. I'm waiting for this show's plot to give an excuse for the song Black Betty to play as entrance music. This week on Survivor, my favorite castaway still persists. The sneaky jerk looks more and more like he's going to make it to the final 3, and I am very excited for the finale. This week I listened to Criminal, live at PodCon. As you might have guessed from the name of the podcast, it is about crimes, but we also got to learn a little bit of the background on how Criminal came to be, and some of the peculiarities of Phoebe's speech patterns. This live show also had a visual element, which was incredibly hilarious given the second story was about a man who was streaked at most major sporting events, and she put up a nude action shot and minutes later realized that she forgot to engage the little black box that covers the genitals. This week, in preparation for meeting the authors, I did some catching up on Welcome to Night Vale. I was first in line and didn't know how much time I had and was going to ask them for book recommendations, but I kind of froze and we talked about how pretty my tattoo is instead. The most strange thing about being used to listening to somebody in the privacy of your own home or in your transit bubble is seeing those people using that voice talking unscripted. Yes, that is how Jeffrey and Joseph actually sound when they talk. Cecil and Meg can go in and out of different inflections that they use while voice acting the show. And Dylan has the same charming quality of voice if you stop him in a hallway and ask him for a book recommendation. If you aren't acquainted with this small desert town, it is the first podcast I ever listened to, and I completely adore it. This week, I listened to The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. This is a highly acclaimed fantasy book, the first in a series, and I am so glad that I finally got to listen to it from my library. It is about 16 hours long, so I had to speed it up to get it all done this week. This book follows a few different characters on journeys, and I spent a decent amount of time getting distracted by trying to figure out how these characters interconnect. In this world, there's a type of hereditary magic that allows certain people to move stone through use of thermodynamics. At least I think that's the best way to describe it. Additionally, every so often the world experiences a 5th season, which can last for hundreds of years and cause a huge decline in population due to starvation. Something I really enjoy is that Aesoon's section was told in second person, which is a style you don't see very often. It is also the perspective to which you might have noticed I changed halfway through that sentence, and continued into this one. You might be wondering why I'm such a dork, but the universe has no answer for that. This book has a cast of mostly, if not entirely, people of color, diverse sexuality and family structures, a clear-cut class system, and interesting views on power. I'm looking forward to consuming the rest of the Broken Earth trilogy. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you tomorrow for more Bookmas. Bye! Stop to answer the door, now I don't know where it was.